I'm Nadia, welcome to Wondernaut, the YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about phone apps. So yes, everything lives on our phones nowadays, right? So from the moment we start planning a vacation, we're already using our phone apps like booking our hotels and flights and all sorts of other things. And while we're on our vacation, we also have a ton of phone apps that we love and just simply rely on. So here they are. First and foremost is, of course, Google Maps. I'm sure we're not the only ones who love this app. I'm sure a ton of you guys use it when you're traveling as well. And besides giving street directions, of course, it gives you, instructions on how to get from point A to point B if you're on foot, in a car, whatever. But I also use it for public transportation. So when we were in Japan, if you're in a country as reliable and awesome as Japan, right? We used it for public transports like buses. And of course trains as well. I've spoken about this in a previous travel tip video. You guys can go check that out. But it's so accurate, so informational, to the point it gives you the ticket fares, what time it leaves, what time it reaches the station, which part of the coach you need to sit in, if I'm not mistaken. So it's got a ton of information in there and it's very reliable. Okay, here's also another tip with Google Maps is that we also use it while we're on a cab, for instance. If we're, like, say, in Thailand, in a taxi ke, we're like in a tuk-tuk, for instance, and we say we want to go to XXX destination. But just to be sure that that guy's not cheating or scamming us, right? Or like wants to take me somewhere dodgy, I turn on my Google Maps and make sure that we're at least headed in the right direction. So that's a little safety tip for you guys, especially if you're a girl traveling alone ke apa, even if you're in a group of people. Turn on your Google Maps and make sure you're headed the right way. Another thing that we do with our Google Maps is that it's the feature that you have to turn on in your Google Maps app, but it's called the Google Timeline, something like that. So it's nice to see that over the months or over the years, right, you can just always revisit it and see where you were this day or how far you traveled within Japan, for instance. And I personally use it, like, for instance, when I'm like blogging or whatever, it's like, that day, right, did we go to Harajuku first or Shibuya first? Then what we do is we revisit Google Timeline. It will tell you on the 6th of December, you were in Harajuku at this time, and then you went to Shibuya at this time. It's that accurate and that specific. So that is really cool. And for us, it's also a little like, hey, pat on the back or a little walk down memory lane of where you've been. So that's us. But for some of you guys, if you feel like it's like invading your privacy, you can always turn it off or never even turn it on. Next up, Google Translate. So of course, you use it to translate foreign languages into a language that you would understand, and that's like Malay and English for us. But there's this new feature on Google Translate. It's not very new, but we've recently discovered it, is that it translates foreign characters into words that you understand. So you just hold up your phone against, like, let's say a signage or like food packaging, right? We do this a lot at Family Mart. So it's like, okay, take the back of the packaging and you just put your phone up against it on Google Translate, and it actually translates it into whatever word it is. Sometimes, yes, still got rongak here and there a bit, like you might not be able to read certain characters or whatever, but you get the gist of it. So you would understand, like, oh, this one's got veggie in it, or this one's got like alcohol in it, for instance. So I find that very useful. Rather than you terkapa-kapai, totally not understanding what you're seeing, what you're reading, Google Translate at least gives you an idea. Another usage for Google Translate, the way I use it, is, let's say, a word that I use a lot is like toilet. I need to go to the toilet. So I just be like, okay, if we're in Japan, what do they say? How do they say toilet in Japanese, right? So you just Google that, and if it's like yama, then you go like, excuse me, where's the yama, for instance, or like you don't want to eat pork, you can't eat pork, so you Google what is no pork, or you Google what pork is, right, in Japanese or in Spanish, whatever. Then it helps you to at least communicate a bit, and at least the locals there would understand you. Tak adalah macam kucing dan anjing. Here's another thing we find really cute about Google Translate, or Google in general. Fendi loves it. Okay, one, it detects which country you're at, right? So when you're scrolling your Google News feed, this is what Fendi says. You go scroll, then suddenly, like, it will pop up a suggestion of like words you can use in the local language. So suddenly you learn how to say good morning in Sri Lankan, or you learn how to say thank you in Japanese. So I find that very cute, and it's also a nice touch when you're traveling in a foreign country. for you to be able to say thank you and hello in their language, you would see that the locals would be more willing, or at least you get a smile out of them when you're asking for help at least. Steps tracking app. Now, if you're already wearing a Fitbit watch or like an Apple Watch like me, then you're already tracking your steps on a daily basis. But I find that people who don't have these gadgets, people like Fendi for instance, somehow when we're traveling or not at home, right, then he would check his steps or the distance we've traveled that day. So it's just something I think really fun to do when you're on your vacation. So I use Apple Health, which is something that's already pre-installed in the iPhone. Fendi uses Google Fit, and there are a bunch of, I'm sure, other applications that you can download to help you track these apps. But of course, your phone has to be with you the entire time, or at least I think your GPS has to be on. What it does for me, right, is that it motivates me to walk more. So for instance, if we're out half a day and we've only walked like 3 km, and I go, I can run 3 km in like, I don't know, half an hour. Takkanlah tak boleh jalan lebih kan? So then it's like, let's just walk down the street lah. Benda-benda macam tu lah. Then it motivates you to explore more, to walk more. I mean, and not just in terms of steps if you're on foot, right? It also tracks your distance covered, even if you're traveling by train, by bus or whatever. So you know that, hey, we achieved so much today. We've traveled this far today. So it's a good encouragement or a little motivator when you are actually traveling. Here is another application that you guys would go, duh. It's the hailing apps like Grab or Uber. Even if we're back home pun, kita already use that app kan. But when we're traveling, it comes in handy lah, of course. I'm sure some of you are saying like, go travel then why naik Grab, take public transport lah. Yes, I know, but it is a good safety net to have. When let's say we're in Japan or even in Bangkok that time, we took the BTS to some place. But we know that at night, for instance, then the BTS dah tutup, or it's a bit dodgy to walk down that path that we walked just now. It's good to know, it's very comforting to know that you have the app ready and you've tested it out, then we can just Uber back to the hotel. Or if something happens and you find yourself like in a weird place and there are no public transport, tak ada locals to help you out, Uber yourself out there, man. So it's really good in that sense. And what we like about it is also that some countries have their own hailing apps. So we've spoken about it a couple of times. In Colombo, when we were in Sri Lanka, we were suggested to use this app called PickMe. So instead of Uber and Grab, try using PickMe because it's very localized. Therefore, it had a bunch of other transportation options like tuk-tuk, like a nano car, which is cheaper, which is way more readily available. So check that out. Maybe before you go to a certain country, just do your research on what are the hailing apps that are available that are more popularly used in that country. And one last thing also, using the app like Uber or Grab would avoid you from getting cheated in terms of prices. Like, I'm sure you've been through this, you're on a tuk-tuk and you say you want to go to ABC and the guy's like, 500 baht. But what we use is we check first on the app. Even if we're not using it, we just first check, you know that it cannot hit anywhere above 300 baht, for instance. Then you go, you know how to negotiate, you know when you're getting cheated and stuff like that. So I think that's why these hailing apps are really good, whether or not you're actually using it. So that's why I think these apps are really useful, whether or not you're actually hailing a transportation on it, it's very good for reference. So use it. Here's another one that's really fun, not essential but fun. I find myself using the weather apps when we are out of the country. So especially for countries that don't share our climate. So for us, it's like when we go to a non-tropical climate country, when we were in London, when we were in Japan during fall. We want to know like, how cold is it going to get today? How many layers should I wear? Or is it going to rain? Do I bring an umbrella? Do I bring a cap? Do I bring my raincoat? So that helps us plan the attire. And what it helps plan as well is our activities. So if hiking is already on the agenda, but it's something that you can still move around, if tomorrow's going to rain or tomorrow's going to hit like a negative 2 degrees Celsius, why not we go on a sunny day and plan it some other day? So that's why I think these weather apps are really useful. I know as Malaysians, we don't like really care about the weather. It's because I think we're so used to it. In Malaysia, there are only 2 seasons. It's either it's hot or it rains, right? And it doesn't matter to us. But when we are overseas in another country, then I think it would help a lot. But if you're going to a country that has similar weather or similar climate like Bangkok, Indonesia, Singapore, then these weather apps might not be as useful as they are in a country with different kind of weather. Well, that's just our opinion. So 5 already, right? I guess that's it. 5 phone apps that we use when we are traveling. If you have yours, then if we've missed out any, maybe you guys want to give your suggestions or opinions, please comment in the comment boxes below and we'll get a little conversation going. And I guess that's it from One and Nut this time. If you're traveling, safe travels. See ya.